Imagine this. You're sitting in a dimly lit cafe, sipping coffee, when you overhear two strangers talking about love. One says, "Love is blind." The other replies, "No, love sees everything. It just chooses to forgive." Stop for a second. What do you think? Is love an illusion or the ultimate truth? Today, I want to take you through a Shakespearean story that will leave your heart pounding and your mind questioning everything you thought you knew about love. This isn't just any tale, it's one of betrayal, sacrifice, redemption, and above all, love so raw it cuts deeper than any blade ever could. It begins with Viola, a young woman shipwrecked on the shores of Illyria after losing her twin brother in a storm. Alone, afraid, and desperate to survive, she disguises herself as a man named Cesario to serve Duke Orsino, a nobleman whose heart belongs entirely to another woman, Olivia. But here's where things get messy. Olivia falls in love with Cesario, not knowing he's actually Viola. Meanwhile, poor Viola finds herself falling hopelessly in love with Orsino, who treats her like a trusted confidant but nothing more. Now imagine being Viola for a moment. Picture yourself trapped in a web of unspoken feelings, unable to reveal your true identity because doing so might destroy the fragile world you've built around you. Every word out of your mouth feels like a lie, yet every action comes from a place of loyalty and devotion. How long can someone live like that before their own heart starts breaking under the weight of secrets? Shakespeare masterfully captures the chaos of human emotion in this tangled triangle. He shows us how love doesn't follow rules. It defies logic, bends reality, and forces people into impossible choices. At its core, this story asks a haunting question. Can we truly love someone without expecting anything in return? Or are we always seeking something, validation, affection, even power, in exchange? But here's the twist that makes this story unforgettable. Just when you think everyone's doomed to suffer forever, fate steps in. Sebastian, Viola's supposedly dead twin brother, miraculously reappears. And suddenly, all those mistaken identities unravel like threads pulled loose from a tapestry. Olivia marries Sebastian, thinking he's Cesario. Orsino realizes his feelings for Viola run far deeper than friendship. In the end, love triumphs, but not in the way anyone expected. What struck me most while diving into this story was how relatable it felt. We've all been Viola at some point in our lives, haven't we? Hiding parts of ourselves to fit into roles society expects us to play. Loving silently from the shadows, hoping against hope that someday our truth will come to light. This isn't just Shakespeare's story, it's ours too. So now I ask you again, will you ever see love the same after hearing this story? Because once you let these characters into your heart, they stay there forever, reminding you of the beautiful, painful complexity of loving and being loved. Let's go deeper. Because love isn't just a feeling, it's a battlefield, a storm, and sometimes a quiet surrender. Shakespeare doesn't stop at showing us the chaos of misplaced affections. He pulls back the curtain on what happens when pride, insecurity, and fear collide with vulnerability. Take Olivia, for instance. She's mourning her brother's death, cloaked in grief so heavy she swears off love entirely. Yet, within moments of meeting Cesario, or rather, Viola disguised as Cesario, her walls crumble. Not because Cesario is extraordinary, but because Viola chooses to see Olivia not as a grieving woman shutting out the world, but as someone worthy of kindness, patience, and understanding. That choice changes everything. It reminds us that love often begins not with grand gestures or poetic declarations, but with small acts of seeing someone for who they truly are and choosing to stay anyway. But let's talk about Orsino, shall we? Oh, poor Orsino. He struts around declaring his undying passion for Olivia, yet spends most of his time talking about love rather than experiencing it. Have you ever met someone like that? Someone who claims to want connection but keeps themselves safely detached? For Orsino, love is an abstract concept, a fantasy he can chase without risking too much of himself. Until Viola comes along. Viola, disguised as Cesario, becomes his confidant, his sounding board, his mirror. Through their conversations, Orsino starts to confront uncomfortable truths about his own heart. When he finally realizes that the person he's been pouring his soul out to, the one who has listened, advised, and supported him, is the very person he should have loved all along, it shakes him to his core. Love forces him to grow up, to step out of his self-imposed bubble, and face the messy reality of human connection. And then there's Malvolio, the steward whose misplaced ambition and arrogance make him an easy target for mischief. His subplot serves as a sharp contrast to the main story of love. While others wrestle with genuine emotions, Malvolio falls prey to his own vanity, mistaking mockery for affection. His downfall is tragic, yes, but also painfully relatable. Haven't we all, at some point, convinced ourselves that someone cared for us only to realize later that we were chasing shadows? What makes this play so timeless is how Shakespeare layers humor and heartbreak, joy and despair, side by side. There's Sir Toby Belch and Sir Andrew Aguecheek, two drunken fools stumbling through life with ridiculous schemes and absurd antics. Their bumbling provides comic relief, but even they reveal something profound, that loneliness drives people to desperate measures. Sir Andrew, hopelessly infatuated with Olivia, clings to the faintest possibility of winning her heart despite knowing deep down that he never will. Isn't that what unrequited love feels like? A flicker of hope burning brightly against the darkness of rejection? At its heart, this story challenges us to examine our own relationships. How often do we mistake admiration for love? Or lust for loyalty? And how many times have we hidden behind masks, afraid to show our true selves for fear of being rejected? Viola's disguise may be literal, but aren't we all guilty of wearing metaphorical ones? Pretending to be stronger, braver, or more confident than we really are. The genius of Shakespeare lies in his ability to hold up a mirror to humanity. He shows us our flaws, our fears, and our desires, not to judge us, but to remind us that we're not alone. Love, in all its forms, binds us together. Whether it's romantic love, platonic love, or self-love, it shapes who we are and who we become. As the story unfolds, we witness transformation, not just in the characters, but in ourselves as readers or viewers. We root for Viola because she embodies resilience. We sympathize with Orsino because he learns to embrace vulnerability. Even Malvolio, despite his foolishness, evokes pity because his pain is universal. Love, Shakespeare seems to say, is both beautiful and brutal. It lifts us higher than we thought possible, only to drop us into depths we didn't know existed. By the time Sebastian arrives to untangle the web of confusion, the tension reaches its peak. The moment of revelation, when identities are unveiled and misunderstandings resolved, is cathartic. It's the kind of resolution that leaves you breathless, wondering how such chaos could lead to such harmony. But that's the magic of love, isn't it? Even in its messiest form, it holds the power to heal, to unite, to transform. Let's talk about the moment everything changes, the climax that turns chaos into clarity. Sebastian steps onto the scene, and suddenly, the tangled threads of this Shakespearean story begin to weave themselves into something extraordinary. Olivia, thinking Sebastian is Cesario, marries him without hesitation. Orsino, realizing Viola's true identity and the depth of her love for him, finally sees her not as a servant or a confidant, but as the partner she's always been. It's a resolution so satisfying it feels almost otherworldly, like destiny stepping in to right every wrong. But why does this ending resonate so deeply? Because it's not just about happy coincidences or divine intervention, it's about the choices these characters make along the way. Viola chooses to stay loyal despite the pain of unrequited love. Orsino chooses to let go of his illusions and embrace vulnerability. Even Olivia, grief-stricken and guarded, chooses to open her heart again when given the chance. Love doesn't find them, they choose to find love even when it's messy, inconvenient, and downright terrifying. And here's the thing, life mirrors art more than we realize. Think about your own journey with love, romantic or otherwise. Haven't there been moments when you had to decide whether to hold on or let go? To reveal your true self or keep hiding behind a mask? Maybe you've played Viola, loving silently from the sidelines, hoping someday the person you care for will see you for who you really are. Or maybe you've been Orsino, chasing an idealized version of love instead of seeing what's right in front of you. Whatever role you've played, one truth remains constant: love demands courage. It asks us to step into the unknown, to risk rejection, and to trust that the reward is worth the risk. Now, let's zoom out for a second. What if Shakespeare's message goes beyond individual relationships? What if he's trying to tell us something bigger about humanity itself? At its core, this story isn't just about romantic entanglements, it's about connection. Every character, no matter how flawed, yearns for belonging. Malvolio wants respect. Sir Toby and Sir Andrew crave companionship. Even Antonio, Sebastian's devoted friend, embodies unconditional loyalty. These desires remind us that love isn't confined to grand gestures or poetic declarations. It lives in the small, everyday acts of kindness, understanding, and acceptance. That's where the emotional high point of this story lies, not in the resolutions themselves, but in the realization that love transforms us long before it saves us. Viola emerges stronger, braver, and more authentic because of her trials. Orsino sheds his arrogance and learns to value genuine connection over superficial admiration. Even Malvolio, humiliated and bitter, forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about power dynamics and the cost of pride. Each character grows through their struggles, proving that love isn't just a feeling, it's a catalyst for change. So now I want to leave you with this thought. What would happen if we approached love not as something to conquer, but as something to nurture? If we stopped seeing it as a prize to win and started viewing it as a garden to tend? Love requires patience, effort, and sacrifice. It thrives on honesty and withers under pretense. And while it may never be perfect, it has the power to heal wounds, bridge divides, and bring light to our darkest moments. As I reflect on this story, I can't help but think about its relevance today. In a world obsessed with instant gratification and surface-level connections, Shakespeare reminds us of love's complexity. He shows us that real love takes time, effort, and vulnerability. It's not about finding someone flawless. It's about embracing imperfection and choosing to grow together. That's the kind of love that endures. That's the kind of love worth fighting for. And maybe that's the ultimate lesson here. Love isn't passive. It's active. It's messy. It's brave. And yes, it's painful at times, but oh, how beautiful it is when it works. When Viola finally reveals her true identity, when Orsino looks at her with newfound respect and affection, and when Olivia finds happiness with Sebastian, we see the triumph of authenticity over pretense, of hope over despair, of love over fear. This story stays with you long after the final curtain falls because it speaks to something universal within us all. Love is messy, complicated, and often unpredictable, but it's also the most powerful force in the universe. It shapes our lives, defines our relationships, and gives meaning to our existence. Once you experience it in all its rawness, you'll never see it, or yourself, the same way again. Do you want to create a big change in your life but can't seem to find the right path? If yes, then The Self-Made Millionaire, Zero to Wealth is the book that has the power to turn your dreams into reality. When we read this book, it felt like every page was revealing our hidden potential. It holds all the secrets that highly successful people have learned on their journeys. If you want to unlock the true power of your mind and reach the heights of success, then this book is for you. To get it absolutely free, hit subscribe and comment book below right now.